Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the GSMC Sports Podcast. I don't know why I'm saying welcome back to another edition, because we're already in the middle of our show, but that's all right. We're going to keep moving on. You know, it's been kind of an interesting day today already, man, Rob. You know, just we're not really in the flow of things. We're a little off. We're getting there though. We're getting there. We're kind of getting settling in.
Hey
And
man, it's
well,
your first time setting up this new style podcast. We gotta give you
there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on. But what better way to settle in than by continuing to talk about the NBA Finals and some potential X factors? I think, obviously, we've talked about this series a ton already on the GSMC Sports Podcast, but why not continue to talk about it? If you're looking at this series, who do you think, Merab, are some of these potential X factors going into a crucial Game 5 in Oklahoma City?
number one has to be Tyrese Haliburton. He did kind of have one of those. He had a decent game. He did show up, had 18 points, had double digits assists, had went off for a double double. But when you're looking at this team as a whole, they ran it really looked like they ran out of gas at the end of this game. And whether you want to say that the Thunder took Tyrese Haliburton out of the game, regardless, he's the star guy on the team. And what he's been doing in this series, all series long, he shows up in the fourth quarter and goes ballistic. And that's what he's done time after time, except for last night. So I'm looking for him to have a little bit of a bounce back game. He's my first X factor. Number two has to go to Pascal Siakam. He has to be one of those guys that when Tyrese Haliburton starts to fade away a little bit, he shows up and starts cleaning it up. Not cleaning it up exactly, but just trying to take some of that pressure off of Tyrese when that shot isn't falling. We saw some of that in game at the end of game 4, like I said, but Siakam did not show up in that fourth quarter. He did have 20 points in this game and was the leading scorer of this Pacer squad, but he did not show up in that fourth quarter, and he was missing some easy gimme shots that we see him making time after time. We can't usually we see him getting the better of Chet Holmgren. This time around, it was the opposite way. If he needs to show up in a big way, he's my second X factor. After that, I'm going to give the third X factor to the entire bench of the Indiana Pacers. Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell, especially in game 3, was an X factor. Obi Toppin, the X factor of game 1, going off for 5 threes. Benedict Mathurin being the X factor of game 3. Across the board, these are guys, even Aaron Nesmith, across the board, when you look at this team, they are so deep. There are so many guys on this Pacers bench that can go off whenever they want to for 10, 15 points. And that's what they're going to need from them in a game 5 in OKC. They're going to be on the road. They're going to have their backs against the walls. I expect Tyrese Haliburton, I expect the stars to show up. If one guy on the bench can go off for like an Aaron Wiggins style 20 points, like an Obi Toppin style 20 points, 18 points, I think Indiana can pull this one out in game 5 and send it back to Indiana with a 3-2 lead.
I think it's kind of a little cheating to just take the entire bench here. I mean, come on, you know you can't take like 8 guys, but
I'm
Joe,
only taking 4.
hey, fair enough, fair enough. I think two other guys too. I think for Indiana, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard need to play much better than they did in Game 4, especially in the fourth quarter of that Game 4, going a combined 1 for 7. These are two guys that are integral to this Indiana offense, that they can do so much. They bring so much spacing and are able to kind of spread that floor out for Indiana, for Tyrese Haliburton, Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, some of these other guys to attack these lanes. A lot of it is because of the spacing and the deep threats that Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith kind of bring to the table. I think for Indiana, those two guys are going to be crucial in terms of stepping up and being better than they were in Game 4. I'm also looking at, you mentioned TJ McConnell. I think TJ McConnell versus a guy who's very similar to him in Alex Caruso for Oklahoma City. Who kind of wins that battle? In the past 2 games, TJ McConnell had 5 steals. Game 3, Alex Caruso says, "Hello, sir, I can do that too." Does that in Game 4. So you have 2 guys that both can make a big impact as kind of a supplementary playmaker, a big defensive presence too at the guard position. I think those 2 guys, it's going to be an interesting battle. Who kind of comes out on top in the terms of kind of those reserve guards?
In terms of reserve guards, I'm looking at 2 guys in particular. On the Thunder side, I'm looking at Aaron Wiggins that showed up in Game 2 and went off for 20 points. He's been a little bit quiet here in Game 3 and Game 4. I expect him to show up big in Game 5 the way he can and usually does. He does it more sporadically when you least expect it. This is one of those times that I'm calling him. I'm looking at him to step up in a big way. For the Indiana Pacers, this isn't as much of a reserve guy, but I'm looking at Andrew Nembhard, like you said, to step up in a big way. Not only defensively, but offensively. When he can get his 3-ball going, Andrew Nembhard is lethal on the offensive side of the ball, taking pressure off of Tyrese Haliburton, getting guys around him open, like Aaron Nesmith. They're all around this team. He takes so much pressure off of the Indiana Pacers, and he becomes a little bit of a secondary facilitator, similar to Jalen Williams' role on the Oklahoma City Thunder. If he can step up in a big way, we haven't really seen him show up like that. We've seen some shots in big moments, for example, Game 1, but we haven't seen him show up and show out in the big moment. I'm looking at those 2 guys, particularly as reserve guards, to come out and play big roles in Game 5.
And talking about another guy you just mentioned, Jalen Williams. How about a guy who really is a big X factor in this series? 27 points in Game 4 for that Thunder win on the road. But we've seen him kind of be a little uneven throughout this entire series. Hasn't really performed up to what we have grown accustomed to seeing out of J-Dub. What are we looking for Jalen Williams to do in this Game 5? What could we potentially see from Jalen Williams and from Chet Holmgren as well? We're going to throw both of those 2 out of that other big 3 in there. What can we see out of Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren going into Game 5?
For Jalen Williams, I'm looking at him to continue to step up. I want to just tell you these stats really quick because he's been phenomenal this series. Going back, like I said before this entire series started, Jalen Williams had a big Western Conference Finals. I was looking at him in the Denver series, and I was saying, this is supposed to be the secondary option. 2 for 14, 1 for 10 from the field, 4, 5, 7, 9 points in games. That is not the normal Jalen Williams that we're used to seeing in the regular season, going off for 30, 40 points sometimes. That is not the normal Jalen Williams. He comes out in the Western Conference Finals, averages over 20 a game, and I said this was a big turning point, not only for him, but the entire big 3 of Oklahoma City. We looked at the entire depth, and we said they have great depth, but outside of Shai, they don't have another secondary threat to attack. If you take Shai out of the picture of Oklahoma City, they become very one-dimensional, and they don't really have a guy to step into that role. Now we see guys like Jalen Williams step up, like Chet Holmgren step up. Chet's still trying to figure it out, but let me just bang off some stats here for Jalen Williams. 17 in Game 1, 19 in Game 2, 26 in Game 3, and then 27 in Game 4. He hasn't been very efficient. We've seen some 5 of 14, some 8 of 18s like last night, some 6 of 19s. But 7 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 5 assists in some games. Like, this is a guy that shows up in big moments and is very versatile and it isn't just a scorer, but is becoming a distributor as well, working and playing very well off of Shai in these big moments, taking some of that pressure off of him. I've seen him show up on the defensive end of the floor time and time again with steals. I've seen him score the basketball very well, getting to the free throw line. As much as I got on him in game three, and he looked like he cleaned that up a little bit after game three at the free throw stripe. But he's looking like one of those guys that is going to continue to show up. And if he does that, the Thunder as long as Jalen Williams keeps playing like this, I don't see the Thunder losing this series. Maybe that's a part of the Pacers. Maybe that's an area that the Pacers should look to try and take away from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Try and take Jalen Williams out of the picture if they can. It's easier said than done, but Jalen Williams has definitely been an X factor in this series, and I'm looking at him to continue to show up as a number 2 option.
Yeah, and then I just want to mention some X factors too that aren't necessarily players, but I think whoever team is better in terms of discipline and in terms of maintaining composure is going to have a much better chance to win Game 5 and then this series. You look at discipline. Free throws was a big part of the story in Game 4. Oklahoma City getting to the line and shooting 38 free-throw attempts, making 34 of those. Indiana getting there 33 times, but not being as efficient. And then I think Indiana having to go into Oklahoma City in a really big Game 5, that's going to be tough. And are they going to be able to maintain their composure against that road crowd, being in that tough environment? Is Indiana going to be able to do that? I think composure and discipline are two kind of underrated aspects of this series.
Sorry, what was the question? You cut out on your mic for some reason. Literally, like I don't know what happened.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just saying that I think composure and discipline are going to be huge for this series. And just in terms of getting to the free throw line, in terms of playing in road environments, I think that's going to be really big. And who is going to be the better team, better squad in maintaining their discipline, their composure?
As a whole, I think we have to give that to the Indiana Pacers. Why? Because they're coached by a guy that's now in his 6th NBA final in Rick Carlisle, and he was my X factor before this series began. I still think he's an X factor, but it really looks like right now, especially after last night, last night has really changed my perspective of this entire series. I thought the clutch minutes of this series was gonna go to Indiana. Indiana would be able to close games. Indiana's able to come back in games because they have the coach to be able to do so, and they have that coach had that experience from the coach just spreads like a virus, and a good virus, to the rest of the team. It's a good thing. It's the same way what happened with Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler. And I'm not comparing Tyrese Haliburton to Jimmy Butler now. I know some people would crucify me if I said that. But Tyrese Haliburton has really played on a high level throughout the series, but he did not show up last night. In terms of composure, it was SGA. It was the Oklahoma City Thunder as a whole. Looking forward in this series, I still want to lean toward Indiana, but do not be shocked in some of these games. I'm not counting out. I'm guessing what I'm saying is I'm not counting Oklahoma City out as much as I was in close games, like I did last night, or like similar, like I did in Game 1, like I did in Game 4. I really thought we were going to come into today talking about how Indiana came out with the win, talking about how this was a 3-1 series. And for it to be completely flipped the opposite direction really not only tells you how crazy this series is, but tells you how unbelievable this NBA Finals has been.
Yeah, certainly a lot to look forward to in Game 5 and throughout the rest of this NBA Finals. But right now, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. We're going to rotate off of the NBA for a little bit, and we're going to go back to the NFL and talk about some quarterback battles, some quarterback competitions to keep your eye out on going into the summer. But stick with us, and we'll be right back on the GSMC Sports Podcast.